What's up everybody, I'm TimberBuilds. In this video I'll be touring your bases from the community. We're going to check out the creativity, break down the designs, share some tips and tricks to make them even better, and of course I'll be grading them for fun along the way. Want your base featured in future episodes? Just join the TimberBuilds Discord, DM me your Xbox username, and I'll add you as a friend so we can share your world, and I'll show off your bases live to the community. So whether you're here for inspiration or just to see some epic builds, let's jump right in. Yeah, so without further ado, here is Action Jackson's base. Let's let this load. There we go. All right, so we are currently located in the hollowed out log, I guess is what we'll call it for the day. They've built inside this log, and Action Jackson specifically asked for help adding details and making it felt too simple, adding more details, more interesting features to it. And so we're going to try to stick on that theme and help Jackson specifically with improvements and more detail, because it's sort of a shell of a base right now and there's lots of details that still could be added, so we can really help them move it forward and offer direction. So here's the reveal. Boom. So it's mostly stems so far, but I really like this location, honestly. I've seen a few people suggest this as a base, but I haven't really seen anyone actually building it. So I think it's a really cool little spot, first off. In terms of base raids, it makes total sense. So I think the location is awesome. I think the stump itself, or the hollowed out log, is just a aesthetically cool location with the different grasses and stuff. So you've done a great job picking a good base location. For sure. It's also, I would say, incredibly centrally located. Anything in these general areas, I mean, mine's even maybe a little too far off to the side, but every base has positives and negatives, of course. So it doesn't necessarily mean every base is going to have something that's really positive. There's no base that's going to be perfect around all the materials in the game, but realistically, you're close to the ice cream cart, so you can get chocolates for smoothies. You're close to fast travel points to hop around, which is really good, especially as they add more fast travel points. You're not like too far away from a place that will then probably, I would assume, as updates come out, let us hop around further around the map. I'm not 100% sure on the resources around this location. I mean, luckily the game right now currently just has lots of stuff everywhere, so it doesn't necessarily feel like you really need to be around something specific in the current state of the game. Say the biggest question I have is, how's this base location for weed stems and stuff, since that's sort of the main material you're using. Luckily you can get dandelions and stuff, but not bad. It's a cool little spot, and it also allows, as I believe Jackson had said, that they plan on expanding things out into this area too, which I think could be really interesting. A lot of room to build out and continue adding to this space, which is also a really positive spot of this base location. So overall, I think location-wise, like 4 out of 5, easily. I love your little entrance. You've done a great job already with adding interesting details to get in. It's not just, here's a door and enter right in the center. The off-side, like, it's kind of cool how it's hidden behind this leaf. I really like that. And then the fact that you've got like a balcony, you have an upper space, you have windows for lower. It has really good depth so far. So I think that is a really good start for the outside. I think you could definitely add maybe some extra materials here. I think that would help this like stand out. Maybe adding some stuff around these edges. Especially, of course, it's difficult till we get more materials and stuff. So take that with a grain of salt. You can't necessarily use materials we don't have in the game yet. And as Jackson said, there's a couple places around for good amounts of stems. I don't have to go far, so that's even better. That's sort of like, I would say, the main thing right now is having a base that's close to weed stems in some way, shape, or form, since other than grass, which is abundantly everywhere, the other build materials require weed stems in some way. Pine less so, but I mean the stem walls and floors require quite a bit. So that's really good that you're located very close. And for future, you have mushrooms. So that's a win. That's a win in my book. Is the Mushroom King. But yeah, I would say you've done a really good job with the entrance so far. It feels good. Maybe testing out some of the pine would be an interesting addition. I really like adding small amounts of detail. This is where you can kind of come in with some of these random blocks, and you could add little fun details with the triangles. They don't necessarily have to be super functional, but they could be things that would help, especially if you can kind of tuck them into these corners. They might help just add in a little bit more depth, a little bit more materials. And that's like one of my favorite top 10 tips was use multiple materials. That's a big thing. So if you can break up the weed stems a little bit, I think you'll be pretty amazed with how quickly the design of a base can change. And maybe a little bit of pine. I like these hand railings specifically. I think those look really nice. So maybe like messing with some of these walls as like pine walls could be really a good option as well. But your placement of everything so far feels awesome. Pine half walls as railings is also a really good option too. What am I stuck on? And anyone following or anything during the stream, I will get to those things after the review. So far, the entrance, not bad. I would say the one thing I had noticed when you're walking through this base. Now, this is the struggle of these really small bases, is everything becomes very, very condensed. And so I would say right off the bat, it feels maybe a little squished here. Potentially, since you have extra space up top with this, you don't really need to build a ceiling, but potentially raising this floor, like even a half block, could significantly help how the lower level feels. Because I feel maybe a little crunched at the moment in this lower level. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I find that slightly higher ceilings makes a huge difference in how bases can feel. And we'll kind of get a better idea of each individual space and then how we could work with it from here. But it is really fun so far. I love that this opens up to sort of like a balcony space back here. That feels really nice. Something that like just naturally feels like an entrance to the base as well feels really good. And we don't have to like jump in a hole, or if you want to get out of the base, you can come out. So like this works really well.
We could bottle that up and make a killing.
And then of course, not totally finished yet, but that's what we're here to do, help figure these things out. Maybe closing that off a little bit, continuing these walls up might be a cool little detail, or even if you use pine walls, then stuff's not showing through. And if these are kind of up higher and say we potentially take, where are they? One second. So if you potentially took like pine walls, and this is just take this with a grain of salt, of course. We're just experimenting and offering ideas. I will never say that my ideas are perfect and better than someone's, because I think there's a lot of room for creative thought processes to kind of have fun here. But, oops. I think something that could be kind of interesting, especially while you have time to experiment with some of these materials, this could be an interesting like lighting feature in the morning, so you get maybe slightly more solid walls that makes this feel more finished, makes sort of enclosed space. You could still use the stem walls on the inside, of course, if you like how these feel. But it might help sort of enclose the space a little bit and then offer some interesting, I kind of like how you have these half walls above things. So that could be an interesting kind of, maybe you're just using half walls because that's what fit or worked. I'm not totally sure if this will let us. Yeah, I don't hate that the ceiling and stuff doesn't actually touch the top on the inside. I think that's kind of an interesting thing you could mess with and continue as you keep adding details and stuff. But a little bit more materials. Of course, you're kind of stuck with the floors you're stuck with the stairs you're stuck with. It's a good use of a curved stair here too. And then having, I always like depth in things when you are inside a base like this. So it's a cool little spot to be able to see from the outside all the inner details when you're inside the base from different locations. Sort of like draws you in further. So I think those are good things to continue with as well. And then I guess my question is, where do we put a bedroom? The upstairs probably feels like a good bedroom spot, but honestly, this isn't bad. Kind of nice, especially if you raise this floor up half a block, you have a lot of space, and it could feel like a really nice, homey bedroom as well. And then downstairs, to me, looks like your functional space. Your crafting spaces, I can already see this working very well. From what I can tell, it looks like you just need to get the chests and stuff added at this point, so you can... They're always a bit of a pain. But if you get your chests lined up really nice down here, this could be an opportunity as well to remove these backwards. At least in some of the locations. It's always going to be a little weird when you're building with these types of spaces, but that way you could put chests on the top and the bottom, which unfortunately you have to move. You do want these on the bottom. And foundations as a floor is another thing if this is driving you insane and why you weren't doing this. Using something other than foundations because they're just not flat. Unfortunately, that's a downside. But I could see you can have plenty of room for chests on these upper areas, chests on these, which works well. If you find a way to maybe push this stuff back half a block, potentially, I think could be offer up just a little bit more space. It's always a little finicky, so it may or may not work while I'm messing with these things live. But if you're able to sort of move some of these blocks back in certain locations where maybe there's not dirt, so like in some of these you can step back and give yourself a little bit more room here, because I think you're going to want to like fully maximize your space down here. You're going to want to be as efficient as possible with your storage space, especially as we get more and more items added to the game. Literally every inch is going to count. So every little square inch of this, especially when you're building with these really small kind of miniature bases, which I'm a really big fan of these. I think they can be super useful. But the more space you give yourself down here, pushing these back half a wall, if you can figure it out as well. A little bit difficult. It's not going to love some of these things, but you can ins and outs like that if you mess with them. More space is good. You've got this located in the center, which I think is the right move. And if you can... Then you will need to... well, probably you're going to want... They're not super useful yet, of course, so I think that's one of the difficult things with base building at the moment. But start laying out your ovens. Not your ovens, your cookeries. You want to get some grinders in these spaces. Another cool thing that I think might be a really big bonus for this base look specifically is I'm hoping you can put sap collectors, because that would be really awesome. Maybe not. Gosh, if there was any, that would be the best part about this base. Having a base that has lots of sap collectors, because currently you have no lighting, which is another thing. Now, I know you're not very far on the build, so take that lightly. Eventually, the lighting is what is going to make this base insane. Yeah, unfortunate that you can't place there, but you might have a good location over here. Does it get big enough down here? Oh, so close. Not a big enough log. They need to make it so these ones can. Any of these would be good locations if you can figure it out, but anything that works with those sap catchers is going to be a great addition, because I think, especially if you keep the stem walls, you're able to put a lot of lighting on the inside. If you put it's a little hard to see because those aren't built yet. If you put sap sconces or even these on the insides, evenly space them out and stuff, I think you'll get a really... Pick a color you like specifically, I think is a big part. I always go for like greens and purples and stuff, but that lighting specifically, that'd be another thing if you did this pine detail, doing it on this upper level would look so cool at night. That'd be a really, really great addition. So start thinking about lighting like that. That's the really cool parts about the pine pieces, is you can backlight all of these things. And I think you'll be really surprised at how much lighting will bring the life. Even if you're not going to use a bunch of materials, the lighting alone can really add depth to a build. But yeah, if you're able to push these out a little further, getting all of your building style machinery, I guess we'll call it, kind of lined up on like one side here, maybe like spinners and grinders, then cookeries and the other items. I'm just blanking on everything tonight. You don't really need any of this stuff, but yeah, getting a smithing station down here and designing those things out, finding kind of cool central spot for your smithing station is really well. Then the big thing is figuring out how far your chests can be reached. If they can reach to this edge, better. That's awesome. If they can't, start moving them in until you can reach every single one, because you can make this space really efficient by getting all your chests lined up. And you can also put the spinners and those things underneath if you get it lined up. So you could do chests all the way on the top and then like spinners, grinders, and stuff on the bottom, the cookeries, all that stuff, which would be really interesting. Because I can already see this being a really efficient little space. But I like it, and this is where the lower ceiling totally makes sense, since this is your form. This is less about the form of it and more about the function of your base as well. And you might gain a little bit more space potentially moving this stair set around as well. There could be a spot where maybe it comes in on this side or something, and then you get all of this space back, which would be kind of nice. Then you could make it more even all the way across. But I think that would be potentially a positive little change. I like seeing the roots and stuff through here. I don't necessarily hate that these aren't like fully finished walls on the inside, because you're building with a really cool little space. So there's nothing wrong with kind of accepting the struggles of the base location you find. That's one of my favorite things about not building a base just right in the center of a location, like an open empty space, like the lamp that I'm building on. You have to build around the restrictions that your base is giving, which I think helps make interesting decisions, especially like you can see where you're stepping the walls out, and it makes the inside more interesting. So I think you're doing a really good job using what the base location is giving you. And you can't cover the roots, so that's perfect, honestly. I think it's a cool effect, especially like with the little hand railings and stuff. And then if you get you find a way to get lights down in these spaces, just like this, any crack and crevice you can find, then those are going to light up, and they'll be even cooler little design spaces. I wish I had some of the material. Oh, I do. So then you can start like highlighting these things a little bit more, even if it's not necessarily easy to do, but you can do backlighting on these walls as well. And then you don't have crazy lighting in your base necessarily, but everything would be kind of more naturally lit, which I think would look really cool, especially because since you can't push these walls back into the roots anyways, it sort of is going to be a really interesting place to highlight and use fun, interesting colors. Just kind of depends on what your vibe is. Yeah, those are really good. This, I like that you can see out, maybe like another balcony or something here. Like if you kind of see it as like maybe a little sunroom or something, you can, because you have all this room to expand out this way as well if you feel like you need more room. So maybe another little floor, and then if this needs to expand outwards to give you more space for your chests, that would work as well. But it all kind of depends on how crazy you are. Actions on ads. Yeah, I mean, you got a really good start. For such a small base that you haven't put a whole lot of time into, it's got a lot of potential. It's got good bones so far. Jackson's back. Let's go. But yeah, I would say overall, structurally, I think it makes sense. It's a really good base location. Works really well for base raids. So first impressions, I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5 because you still have a lot of work to do. That's not a negative thing by any means. I think you can bump up the details and start adding little things like this, whether it's, even if it's just like starting to mess with like columns and stuff as well in these. You can also, one of the cool things about columns is you can unsnap them and place them wherever you want. So you could start sort of adding in things like that. Maybe you like how that hides behind there or something. Those would be kind of cool. These become really cool little lighting pieces. You can almost make them like tiki torch looking things, even though I know those are kind of in the game right now. And putting little lights on each one of these things could be a good little addition as well. And then upstairs, we haven't talked about too much. So yeah, once again, love the balconies. This works really well as it is. Feels like it wants to be like that. And now it's just making this, I would say this feels like your bedroom, in my humble opinion. So this is where you can start kind of messing with things, whether it's, do you like this side as sort of your master bedroom type space? Or do you find a way to maybe this wall moves out one, so you build more directly on this edge. You give yourself a little bit more space out here, and then you can start putting your bed on one of these side walls over here. Start moving those things around. Because these are interesting spots where you could, instead of just putting a wall in front of it, you can start making like shelving, which would be another good maybe functional use in these spaces. So then you can start putting like the pots in here for decorations, put your bed, or even your bed here. Or if this is like a living room, maybe these are, you can make a little bathroom out of this space. This is where, yeah, a little pine toilet seat. You make some fun little stuff like that. Put a little area rug underneath there. Area rugs on these as well. Start adding those details and start making like livable spaces. Look in your living room. Look in your parents' living room. Whoever, anyone. It looks like you still, that might just be my character. You may not have everything unlocked as well, so that might help you sort of push it to the next level, is by getting some of like the berry chairs and stuff. You could start making little cozy corners with rugs and chairs. The more lights you get in here, it'll start coming to life, and just start thinking like you're actually designing your own bedroom. I think would help you on this upper area. Otherwise, I think it's a great little location. And then maybe moving your ant stuff and your dew collectors down into these lower areas. Dew collectors are kind of hard in this base, specifically just because of the size. So if you, I don't know, make a vestibule, extra room out here, even if it's just continue like your flooring out a little bit, and then maybe your dew collectors go here. They don't necessarily have to be in the base to be super functional, is something to think about. Torch, yeah.
I ain't gonna walk around in the dark like an idiot.
But overall, I think the creativity is really interesting with the base location, and then your creativity will just kind of explode as you start adding those lights and those extra features in. I think you're at a really good starting point, honestly. I know it may feel like you still feel like it's a simple base at this point, but I think really minimal detailing changes it'll make it feel completely different. It'll really bring it to life, because I really like just the, not haphazard, but just the way the base is forcing you to kind of wander through this space. Creates for little interesting moments, and just put little cool things on the other side of these windows, decorations, and it'll come to life really fast.
Growling louder than an orb weaver.
Uh-oh, we're gonna die.
Wish I had fries with that.
Oh yeah, so they're going, so yeah, and that's also, even if it's not back there, if you want to use this functional space out here, you can start building walls across, you can start building areas, you could just make it open. Lots of potential, though. It's a really cool little base location, so I think you've done a great start. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give it my first impressions. I think it's a 4 out of 5, honestly. I think it's a really good start to the base. I think you have to look at everything that we're looking at depending on how far and how much time people have spent. Not everyone gets to play 4 hours a couple days a week and live stream it, so everyone builds at their own paces. But if you're looking at the overall potential for the base, I think you have a lot of potential, and the improvements are just detail at this point. Sticking to different materials, just getting in and start throwing all your decorations in, organizing your chests downstairs if that's, of course, what you're planning to do, getting all your functional stuff, and it'll really come to life really, really fast. But honestly, man, I think you've done an awesome job, and my favorite part of it so far is this entrance. I think there's a lot of potential with how you've done the entrance. I like that it's set back a little bit. It's not just right on the front, so it creates its own little, like, covered space. So I think that's a really good, whether it's intended or not, it works very well. So I think you've done a great job, man, and I hope that my comments and suggestions help. Of course, this is your base, so you really get to do whatever you want with it. Don't feel like you have to do something I say because I have different opinions, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed, honestly. I think this is a really good base location that I think a lot of people, they're struggling to find interesting spaces to build. This is a great spot for a small starter base. And it's honestly bigger than it feels like when you get in here with the 3 different levels, which I think is also really nice. You're not just having a big empty space.
Make a killing.
You've done a great job dividing it up into unique little rooms, and now you just get to detail the rooms and have fun with it. But yeah, thank you, Jackson, for letting me check it out. You've done a great job so far. I'm really excited to, we'll do follow-ups as well on stream. As you said, you're going to be back to see it soon. I would love to be able to do before and afters as well, if that is something by the time I get the videos out, if there's adjustments and changes that have been made, I'd love to be able to add that to the videos. Because I think seeing how people take my comments and suggestions and change them into their own style and their own things is really cool. So I would absolutely love to see how you change this and fix it up, which is great because you've shared the world. So now, as soon as it's done, I can just hop on in the world and check it out again. But honestly, man, great job. I think there's a lot of really cool potential with this base location. So you've done a great job so far. So, as I said, Niels or Niles base. This one is super interesting. So here we go. They have more of a, I guess I'd call it like a Japanese style architecture here. Really, really good details, honestly. The use of triangles like first impressions are incredible. Niles, you've done an amazing job on this so far. Really cool way to use the new materials and test them out, because I don't think anyone's really messed with these quite enough to understand how they look together, and so you've done incredible. The detailing, the little stuff I can see from the start, the proportions of the base, the use of ladders instead of just windows, super creative. I really enjoy the way you've kind of like, you have depth. It's like you took a Japanese architecture type building, you've just created it masterfully in Grounded. It's really good. The depth right off the bat is like one of my favorite things so far. You've got sort of inner walkways. You've now separated things with open outside walkways, which is a really cool little addition. The roofs you've done awesome with. The textures and difference in materials using the one side of the pine walls versus the other side for the inside creates a really good amount of depth, which I think is very, very well done. Loving, one of my favorite things right off the bat as well is these like triangular column pillar things that they look really good. I'm very interested to see what this base looks like at night, because I could imagine that, which we'll get to see actually, which is going to be great. That lighting, more lighting on the inside, which there's a little bit in there I can see, but the more lighting you add, I think will make this look absolutely insane at night. Done a really good job. We'll show off the location real quick. So we're just kind of off in this back area, which is really interesting because I would have never even thought to build a base here. It's going to work great as you expand out into the rest of the game throughout early access and stuff. So it'll be a really good location, pretty good central. You're not too far away from the stations, which is good. You got dry grass, grass, clovers, you got lots of materials, you have pine cones, the trees for sap and sap collectors. You can do sap collectors on this cool thing, which is really awesome. This route has always, I think, fascinated a lot of people. So it's this really cool little, like, cove you've built in, which I think is really nice. It's a really fun little location, especially because you can keep expanding in this area and, like, keep messing with the roots and stuff. So it's very good. Cool location. I like that you raised it up a little bit to sort of add its own little podium, which looks nice, flattens everything out. But yeah, let's get inside, see what else you got here. Maybe run around the outside so we don't miss anything. That cooled route, almost built there too. Yeah, the curled route is awesome. Love the outside walkways. Honestly, I'm stealing this door frame look. This is freaking awesome looking. It looks so good with the different roofs and stuff as well, because these just all have the red, so it looks really cool. I hadn't even thought of putting these next to each other as like an exterior walkway, so that looks really interesting. Now, on the inside, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I explore these areas, because I tried not to walk through these spaces and spoil anything if I didn't have to. What are those? Oh, those are lights. That looks really interesting. Another cool little detail for lighting. I put my lights behind it, but with the slime mold sconces. That looks really interesting. It's just little bits of light. I could see a lot of people using that as an interesting, like, lighting detail moving forward, because I almost never use these, but that's a really interesting placing them and then putting stuff over them so they get their own little, like, spotlight. Really cool. Perfect little crafting room. Nothing huge, nothing crazy, but it does everything you need. So I would say you've done an amazing job just laying out this simple little thing. You got, even Ludorav's going to love that. The light in perfectly placed on the vase. Love that. Very good. Super functional. Everything's right here. Easy. Can't really say anything wrong about it. Oh, a bounce tower. That's great. I don't want to do that yet. I want to walk through the bottom area first, but love the use of the bounce web towers here. How did you accomplish that? Are they, like, in here or something? What the heck? Oh, is it under? That's where, very well done, dude. That's a great detail. Honestly, super clever with the bounce web under the floor. I didn't know they would work like that. So that's another really good detail. Seriously good detail. We're missing anything. The little targets on the outside are fun little additions too. And exactly like Action Jackson's doing details like this. It's still a flat wall, but this is kind of what I'm talking about in terms of adding in little details with the triangles and then utilizing the other triangle type pieces to fill them in, just to add small little unique designs and stuff. It's another great way to do it. Love the little walkway over to your other little space. Perfect little room here just for your functional things. Keeps it kind of out of your other room, and then again, another great detail. If no one's used these side tables as chests, they are great for that as well, and I think they look very good placed like this. I've done that with a couple things on Grounded 1. And if other people, I know I've done this in my base, but raising your jerky racks up, super efficient, then you can walk down. I actually also heard that if you bring your ant into gather mode and just walk and look, it gathers all of them for you. Another little tip for everyone. Crazy's going insane with the weevils in the background just sitting up there chilling. Love those little details as well. Very, very well done. You could do the same thing. Add some more pots and vases and stuff. Lighting. Say so far the biggest thing I'm noticing is lighting. You've obviously understand the lighting, because these are freaking hilarious. I love these little lights. Continue it. I would say more and more of that lighting style. You've created something really unique, and I would continue that going, moving forward as well, and maybe finding unique little ways to light these spaces up could add a nice amount of detail. It'd be my only suggestion so far on those things. Do these glow? Weird. Again, also maybe some lighting on the insides as well. If you can find a way, maybe like backlighting on some of these pillars would be nice. I don't dislike the lights on the outside, but I think you might get a better effect just moving these from the outside to the inside. That way you don't see them as much, but you still get the really interesting lighting effect, and you can see, of course. That's another thing. Oh, I didn't even notice the little ant heads up there. You could also, I think, one thing I really like to do is... I don't really think I can get up on top here very well. Lighting inside of these, your little pieces here, if we can ever figure out how to get on top, maybe. Run and jump! We did it! If you find a way, it's not easy by any means, so it may be difficult. But if you can find a way to get your lights in there, that, I don't want to say we've done it, but the fact that that lights up the ant heads that you've put in there and really shows that detail off would be something I would strongly consider. Especially because I really like the way the ladders look. You've done a really, really good job with the ladders as windows. It feels very open, works really well, and so your lighting shows through as I wanted to see. Looks awesome. I love how transparent it is. It feels very heavy and built well, like structurally, so you've done a very good job on that, but it's also not so enclosed that you can't see what's happening on the inside. So the more lighting on the inside will make these spaces look even crazier. And I don't even know what we got some fun stuff happening up there we'll get to. But yeah, maybe some lighting, some more lighting in these things like I had done on the other side would be really interesting, just to maybe highlight them a little bit more, because they are such a good piece of your design. Highlighting those specific design decisions to another level is going to be something that I think will enhance things that you're already doing very well. And I find that lighting is the last detail that really, really starts bringing bases to the next level. Even like you've done it there with your little dummy on top. Having that lit up is the exact sort of concept where you're making little design choices with the ants and these pillars and stuff, so highlighting them even further. Potentially, if you could light up these things as well, that could be kind of interesting. Let's see. Can't place lights on them, can you? Nope. That's okay. Yeah, so maybe that. I think that'd be a great little addition to do with the lighting. Love the bounce web addition. Wow. That looks freaking awesome, man. You're doing great. Very well done. Wow, your details are freaking awesome. So good. Loving the floors. The fact that these are placed on top of the roofs and lets you do that is really cool. Another detail I'm 100% stealing. The pillows with the targets also really, really creative. You're doing an awesome job with those creative things. The chandelier type lighting above feels really, really good. Your space is all detailed. You have everything. You've continued. One thing that I really like that you're doing here is you've created a design aesthetic, and you are pushing that design every step of the way. You're using these blocks that you used in the lower levels. You're using the door frames in a repetitive way that creates what I would say is a very cohesive build. I'm sure there's thousands of ways that you could design a base just like this, but I think a big thing that people should try to do more of is repetitive details to sort of further the theme and the designs. You make a good design decision. Don't scrap it and go with something else. Stick with it. Keep utilizing it, because it creates bases that are very, very cohesive like this. So I would say you've done a very good job, again, utilizing the fun little lights and tables you're having fun with. This is another perk of small bases, is you get to spend more time messing with these little design pieces that I think are what makes for some of the coolest bases. I love small bases because it's all about the details. You just get to spend time making things look cool. But again, awesome job on this bedroom level. I don't think I'd change a thing. And I think I have to run. Oh, there you go. You just have to find the spot. Okay. And the last level, 1, again, details, you're killing it. Repeating similar patterns is looking awesome. The fact that you've now brought this all the way to the top is a masterclass in design. The placement of your torches is super intentional. Whatever the heck, are those weevils? I think they're weevils. I'm not tall enough to get up there. But we need to see them. Yeah, they're little weevils. Oh, it's an egg storage. You have egg storage on the top. That's even... Wow. That's freaking awesome. Great job on that detail. Another one that I think people should absolutely be stealing. And again, I think all this seems to work. I'm assuming that all these reach the chests down below, so that seems to work. Yeah, works really well. You got all of that. I guess that's one thing I would think about is you've put some of your most functional base pieces on the very top. I think the way you've laid this out looks awesome. But maybe one thing to consider, or for other people that want to recreate this type of base, I'd potentially think about putting some of your functional machines down in these lower levels, or maybe your bedroom becomes up in this top space. Could be an interesting little way to do it. Not that this doesn't work by any means, but maybe that's one critique that I think I can find is you could potentially move these into a slightly more functional space, where they're a little easier to access. Would probably be the only thing I can think of on those. Now, I really want to get to the top and see if we can see. I'm going to do a little bit of creative destruction here for the purposes of seeing what the heck they've even done up here, because I can't move anything. It's egg storage. We have to see how this egg storage is done. Oh, no. Oh, no. I've ruined it. Well, we can't see how you did the egg storage, but hopefully I can get a description from you on how you built that, because that looked freaking incredible. And we can, it'll all load back when I make another created world. This is just my shared world, so it's not affecting their base in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, the fact like you're even continuing the little details, not that you could, all you can see is this up on the top, and also this is 4 of these all clipped together, or 3 or 4, which is, again, awesome little details, the things that people should be messing with more. They have found a way to clip these together. I'm going to have to ask how they did that as well, because that's a great little addition. But yeah, I mean, you've honestly... Now, I wish you were here to hear how well of a job you've done on this. I know you'll see it later, but phenomenal base design so far. And again, the little things, more lights on these spaces, really highlighting these, highlighting more of these, so like when you're further out, you see some of those lights, would also be great additions. I think potentially taking your... Sorry, I have to destroy things to get back in, so I don't have to go back up. Your lighting on the inside, this is done really well. Start messing with maybe some different colors. I think could be really interesting. I think a lot of people sort of overlook the effect that just a slight change in color can have. I'm a really big fan. It seems like you have a specific color and light amount that you liked, so by no means do you have to change any of it. But I think you could have some really cool little changes as you maybe add more lights there, or start kind of lining lights up in these upper areas, and then that sort of gives you this effect that once you're outside, you won't really see these lights as much depending on where you lay them out, but it's going to make this glow like a pagoda light. Like, it literally will feel like a pagoda. And it'd be really cool. So yeah, maybe just more lighting. Try to do some more backlighting as well. You have a lot of good depth, and I find that more lighting, specifically, and the way you do the lighting, as simple as taking some of these and just putting them on the inside. Even if you like them on the outside, put a couple of them on the inside, test it out, and see if you like the amount of light. I don't think these are turned up all the way either. Might be part of that, yeah. And then you'll have this, like, more of a glow effect outside of highlighting. Instead of highlighting the lights themselves, you would be able to highlight your build specifically. It does make the outside a little dark, but I think there can be some improvements made specifically on, like, the way you go about lighting this base that would take it to even... Not that it's not insane already. By any means. I'm pulling hairs trying to find things to tell you to improve here because I think you've done such a good job. But I think lighting overall is probably the #1 tip I can say that you could take this base to, like, the best of the best with just a little bit more lighting effects. Because, yeah, it's really good. Really cool designs, super, super creative detail uses. Again, I can't wait till you make something else. This base feels almost done, I would say. Unless you plan on adding more random houses and villages, making it maybe more of a village or something. Could be kind of interesting, but if you're not going to build anything on this one, I would love to see more of your ideas for future base reviews, because this is really well done. I think this is going to inspire a lot of people to use the pine instead of sticking with some of the other materials, because this is... The little details, the precision, and the focus on the small things is what's really taking a base that's not very big by any means, but it feels complete. It feels very designed. So I think you've done a phenomenal job on those aspects. And you just keep it going. But yeah, I don't think there's anything too much I would specifically add. I guess we can go over scores that I would give this base. One, the first impressions, you're going to get a 5 out of 5, easily. 5s are not something that I'm going to be stingy about giving out. When I think something's good, I'm going to tell you it's good. And I'm not going to hold back and critique things just to critique them, because as an architect, that's what I was taught to do. I think 5 out of 5 on first impressions. Your layout and flow is probably one of the things I'd maybe give you a 3 out of 5 on. Some things could be improved upon. I think the flow and stuff works for the most part, but that's maybe more so what I was saying about having your your machines and kind of useful stuff at the very top. Really minor critique there. Not that it's not like it doesn't work, so it's whatever, it's your base, so if it works for you, it works for you. That's all that matters. But yeah, maybe finding a way to sort of implement those into a place where I like to keep them, if I can, close to my crafting stations and stuff, my chests. It seems like they're just high enough that they do reach all of these chests, so it's not the end of the world. But I know with my bounce tower, I often find that it doesn't bounce me up as well as I may like it to, and so it can get a little frustrating trying to get to the top of the base to get your crude rope and those things. So maybe that's another thing you could do, is making that top level another living space that you've done a great job on with the bedroom, but maybe it's another living type space, and maybe you expand upon this kind of I'm going to call it a shed for a lack of a better term, but your tool shed, and then you get all your functional stuff. Of course, that's a little farther away from your chests, so you could expand some things outwards. You have so much room to mess with here too. It could be interesting to see some of the lower floors maybe expanded so they have a little bit more space and room. If there's any food. We're alive. Structural and realism, I think another 5, honestly. Everything feels very intentional. It doesn't feel like weird things are sticking out that don't feel like they have a purpose. I mean, everything you've used structural elements to add really nice details, windows, doors, the frames, all of those things feel very intentional. The columns that go up the top. So realism and structurally, even though it still feels sort of like a fantasy Japanese architecture style build, it still feels very real and legit. So I think that's an awesome way to do it. You've sort of blended the fantasy and realism of it very well. Design and aesthetics, again, that's easy 5. You're killing it. You got some amazing ideas that I really hope everyone utilizes in their own bases, and we can start seeing how people can take your pillow designs, awesome stuff, the lights that you've come up with. I think those are all, in terms of creativity and theming, you've knocked it out of the park, and you've been very consistent with what you've designed. So another easy 5 out of that. And the improvements, again, I mean, you're a 4 out of 5, easy. I mean, little tiny improvements. Lighting is very quick and easy to add. If you hate my advice on moving these, all good. That's just a me thing in terms of functionality. Because it all functions. Everything reaches it. You don't have chests that are too far away and aren't actually working. It functions. It does function. And as long as it functions for you, since it's your base, that's all anyone could hope for. So you've done a great job. And if I had to say any final takeaway, as insane as your base is and as good as it is, the best parts of it are those small details. You've obviously had fun messing with the different decor pieces and stuff, and that is what I think makes this base go from, wow, that's a really nice kind of Japanese architectural style build, to like, this is next level. Everyone should give you a round of applause for having fun with the build pieces, because I think that's when building and grounded gets the most fun, is when you really start messing with the decor items and how they can elevate your build to that next level. And so yeah, you've done an awesome job. Very, very impressed. I'm very excited to get this into a video and show it off to everyone, because you've done awesome. Yeah, I think that's it. If anyone has any other things they want to see, let me know. But go to photo mode. Oh, yeah, that would be smart. There we go. Yeah, we could have looked at it like this. Derp. I'll do some fly arounds and stuff for the videos as well, so everyone can kind of see it. That will be one of the things in the editing process that you'll get to see. We'll do some fun little fly around edits and stuff to show off the cool pieces and get everyone hyped about it. Because oftentimes, I know I've destroyed it now and I've ruined the aesthetic, but oftentimes the details that people put in that no one would ever see are where I start getting inspired by builds, because that's how I build things. Is I often spend time in the areas like the tops of bases where like no one will ever notice it, but I know that I made a cool design that I'm really really proud of, and you should be very proud of your build here. And if you're not part of the Discord, make sure you join the Discord. You can reach out. Oh, actually, we have a command now. Make sure you join the Discord if you want to give Niels, that's Niels, in the Discord. If you want to give them a shout out and tell them how freaking amazing this base is, how great of a job they've done. I mean, let them know. And Jackson as well. Very cool bases tonight. And that's our, those are all the base reviews that I have for the night. I hope that this gives everyone a little bit of an insight on how I'm planning to do these and gets everyone excited to start showing off their bases. Again, no one needs to have this great of a base. It does not need to be this incredible to make it onto a base review. Because some people, I think Niles was more interested in me seeing their cool designs rather than giving them tips and tricks on how they can really make it better or help them kind of finalize things, because it's pretty finalized as it is. But like Jackson's base is a great example of someone that wanted some help. And I think if you're brave enough to get on a stream and let me talk about your base and critique it. I think it helps the community as a whole learn how to build more and more interesting bases and how to like push those to that next level. So there's a place for every type of base in these reviews. I don't care if you've got, as long as you didn't build a grass box and do nothing in it to mess with me, I'm more than open to reviewing really any base that people come up with, and that's for people that just want to show off cool designs or people that like legitimately would like advice and help and tips to make things better if they're struggling with specific things. Sleep. I can see. Just catch up on chat. Make sure I haven't missed anything too much. Everyone talking about, wow, this looks incredible. That looks amazing. Like this location, awesome locations. Awesome use of the pine walls. Grim is late. Welcome in, man. Welcome in. Yeah, everyone loves the pine walls. Again, yeah, Niels is the builder of this one. Unfortunately, they're not in chat because they're in a different time zone, but really, really good. She was on to give us a rundown of the ideas. Yeah, of course, I would love for everyone to be here live while we're doing the reviews. I think with Jackson that worked out really well, but they get to see it later on and we can discuss and add option ideas and stuff as we move things on. And yes, you also put the sconces under the floor. Yes, you could put the sconces on the floor. That would be a great slate, a great addition as well. Underfloor lighting looks really cool. I think Backwoods in the Discord posted some really cool like floor lighting details with grass floors and pebbles with these pebble paths. So underfloor lighting is another really, really good way, especially when you've already put the work in to raise this stuff up. Another great addition. Because even if you want to keep these exterior lights, you could put the lights in these floors, and that would glow upwards and would be another really good idea. I might have to toss this section into the video at some point too, is another cool little addition for people to think through. And yes, outside of me breaking a decent amount of things in the base, phenomenal job. How many bases you showcasing? Just the 2 for tonight. That was I've only had 2 people reach out, so again, if you want your own base reviewed, if you want to be part of these, I'd love to do, even if it's, we could do, depending on how many people we get, we could do a review every night. We could save it for, I don't know, 1 night a week. We do a full stream of base reviews if that many people reach out and want this for their bases. I'm more than happy to accommodate as many of these as possible, because I think these are the type of builds that don't get enough love. They really don't. You don't get to see them. They get posted in the Discords, and then they disappear too fast. And so I would love to show off more details, more interesting base locations, places with potential in general that we can share with the community. Critique for this base is honestly a bigger base, thinner middle floor, and smaller floor at the top. You could definitely do that. I mean, that's the great thing, is people could take this design and you could do this 20 floors high. You could do floors that, I think the reason they did these heights was because of the door frames they wanted to utilize, but you could do double height and that would look really, really good as well. And kind of stretch this building out, which would look really, really nice. You could even make this 2 stories potentially. That could be another good addition, is making this like a double story, putting these, like I had talked about, the functional machinery stuff. You could make this 2 stories, put some stairs in, and have all your functional stuff there, as long as it's close enough to the chests, of course. But you could even make a functional tower and a personal tower as well. It doesn't have to be one and the other. You can have fun with one side and make function out of the other, and then have like a yin and yang style build where maybe you invert this and maybe the windows are more closed and the columns become interesting details that are highlighted on a secondary piece, copying sort of this design. And or flipping. You could literally flip all these pieces the opposite directions and have the complete mirrored vision on the other side or something like that too. Could be really interesting. But that's the nice thing is you can build these bases as big or as small. It's whatever works for you personally. One of the cool features we're going to see right off the bat is something that they sent us earlier, which is an epic little football stadium. I know a lot of people built some cool stuff like this in Grounded 1, but no one that I've seen has done this yet in Grounded 2. So very cool first little addition. There's the whole base, which is like down in there as well. It's massive. Great base location, especially after you finish the game and at least what they have in the game at the moment, because all the bugs that are here just kind of go away. And I think there's like 2 orc stink bugs that are down here, and 1, I mean, you can just build over them and they're gone. But I think they disappear if I'm not mistaken. At least mine have disappeared since I finished the game. But lovely little stadium. I mean, this feels like a perfect little football stadium. So very well done. Very creative. You mean you got the teams and everything, calling out plays, like such a good little design already. Like this has got me hyped. Just like these creative little moments. This is where like first impressions that I was talking about in terms of score, like this is where you get 5s, because it's just, it doesn't have to be a base to be interesting. It doesn't have to be a structure that you live in for it to be a really cool, interesting build. And I think a lot of people can get inspiration from this, because I've seen people build soccer fields and soccer stadiums and basketball stadiums. We've got basketball hoops and you can play basketball. So there's a lot of opportunity with fun little like sports fields like this. And especially when you just have a massive open space like this, it really does feel like a great fit. So that's awesome change. And you have, well, that's a stuffed bug. I was like, how is there a snail on your roof? What? Shikaka, 6 right off the bat. Just instant 6. I love it. We don't even need to see the rest of the base. That's a 10 out of 10 with the stadium. But we're gonna look at it still. Don't worry. So now the actual base got a nice little ramp instead of a staircase, which I think is fun. I need to use these windows. I have not messed with these at all, and they are nice. They do look nice. The fun little pattern up top. One thing I notice immediately in terms of things that you could start with improvements on is sort of the finer details. This is where, if newer people here that are just finding me today, top 10 tips to build better in Grounded, I know is mainly focused on Grounded 1, but I think there's a lot of concepts that people could gain from watching that video. Not to plug my own content or anything, but plug away, I guess. Depth and use of different materials are very big, where very simply these big kind of blank walls, in the same way that you've utilized the windows, you could very easily start coming in with similar things that we just saw on my base with the quarter triangle pieces and start rotating them, even if it's just adding like sort of an X design or some zigzags. Little things like that can make a huge difference. Also, one thing I really like to do is trying to add depth as well. So with, I don't want to show too much yet, but you have so much space and room here. I think you could benefit from adding like a quarter wall here and then stepping some of these places back. This is also where, I mean, you could build with the vertical half walls, you could build sort of a frame that goes around this, and then inside just step one layer of this back, a quarter block. or I guess technically it's a half block. And then that way you break up these kind of big, large walls, and it doesn't necessarily have to be any form of function that you're adding with this. But I find that if you can add more detail, slightly add in some stem walls, quarter triangle pieces, and as we see more bases, I think a lot of these details you could say were done in Niles' base as well. Just adding in some slightly different variations. I mean, even here, like, this is enough detail that you could utilize this in a different way on this same piece, because you sort of have mimicking roof structures here. And so maybe bringing different patterns down, pulling stuff out, similar to how you have stuff here, could add a lot of detail onto these front areas and could really kind of like liven up the overall kind of aesthetic of this front-facing facade. But overall, I like your entrance here. You could also try... I really, really like sort of messing with like hand railings and stuff. I think can add a lot of detail. So adding in something as simple as a handful of these, just to make the entrance maybe feel slightly more designed, I guess, because you've got a good, interesting little piece going here, like you're staggering these steps, and just a little more detail could really go a long way with this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be hand railings or anything. You could also, I mean, put these here, and you could add... We don't really have, like, the mant braziers and stuff yet, so it's harder to do some of these outside details in the big open spaces without more decor options. But you could add, like, if these are your hand railings, then you could put, like, a bug mount on each one of these, and maybe matching bug mounts here and here, and then different bugs here and here, and so on and so forth, and kind of just a little bit more detail. But overall, I think there's a lot of potential with what you've got going on already, which I think is good. And these are their kind of main areas already, the windows. I'll kind of see how you have everything laid out before I give too many options and ideas. You got stuff everywhere. You've got a bug highway. Yeah, like this. Like you're already doing it. See, I'm giving you advice and you're already doing it. This is exactly the kind of stuff I'm thinking. I wouldn't hesitate to maybe use this on that front entrance because it looks really nice already. It's a lot of stems to collect, I know, but that could be a really interesting way to utilize this on the front, even if it's instead of how you have it where you have the ramps, maybe the ramps become acorn steps, and that could add another one of those, like a different material, which would help break up the big designs and stuff, the big walls and everything. Holy cow, you got everything. You got your little turret defenses, your little hut to get underneath here, all your mounts and everything. Another thing, suggestion that someone else made on one of the other tours, under floor lighting, when you have this much stem flooring, putting lights underneath it if you can, even if you're putting like just a little wall piece like this and then attaching a light there, under lighting for big floors can make a big difference. Was there anything under there that I'm missing? I don't think so. And maybe copying this technique to make this stair feel a little bit more designed as well. Or even like filling in some of these spaces with walls on these, or like palisades are kind of cool sometimes. I like messing with. There's a lot of options. I'm just gonna get lost. This place is huge. Oh, there's like secret doors and stuff. Holy cow. Alright, try not to get too lost. In here, again, like hand railings, similar to what you did here, adds a great amount of detail, and you just use a little curved stem flooring and stuff. The bugs are fun. I think double down on your bug ideas here. More bugs, more lights with them. Change the colors to match the bugs. Could be really fun. Like, I like seeing the big green mantis up top. Those are always fun little details, so don't be afraid to like double down on the cool little details like that. You got the upper space. God, you got bugs everywhere. And other things you could do as well are, instead of maybe these walls, these are great opportunities to kind of replicate what we saw earlier. Just make these openings as well. Like, that adds enough depth into the build that I think you'd see a large amount of detail added with just little things like gaps in these walls. They don't necessarily have to be insane. You don't have to go crazy with the little triangles, because I know it's a lot of materials to gather and everything, but those would be great little great little additions just to kind of spice up. That's the hardest thing that I think you may be running into, and that's things that I really try to focus on. But the bigger the build, the more you have to be intentional with your designs and your detailing on the inside, because big bases make for big spaces, and it can be really difficult to find ways to design and like fill all those spaces in. But like, you're having fun with the bugs, you're having fun with the armor mounts. A great thing I've seen a lot of people do is making like a plinth sort of design. So if you toss in just something like this, since you have a lot of vertical space, you could potentially start putting some of these armor dummies on top of these things and make them a slightly more like designed space. Whether that's, you throw in some things. That wasn't quite where I wanted that. You could throw in little things like this, fill in these gaps. You could even mess with like bringing the roof in and out a little bit, so that also adds, I mean, you could move some of these outwards and fill in, like you've got little gaps here, so if you move like one roof, you could get some interesting roof patterns that sort of push and pull and different stuff. That would be like nice little details, but anything that you can add around the edges to like have storage for these armor dummies and your different items. You can put bug mounts, gives you little designed places to sort of mess with the different things. There's a ladder on the second floor to get up to the roof. Yeah. And these are fun little things too. Now, I will say I enjoy the ladders because they're easy as well, but you do have so much space in these bases. You could make some really cool like double entry staircases as well that could be part of the design. So if you did something like, now it's a little hard because you have stairs there, but if you did a staircase like on each side, wherever they fit, of course, and then like a staircase, of course that's not going to be right there. You don't have to figure it out, but you could do some fun designs with maybe more intentional staircases, since you have the room for it. Typically the reason staircases kind of suck is because they take up a lot of room, and so they can be really hard to work with. But when you start with a really big base, you give yourself so many opportunities to do just over-the-top design, and so that would be maybe something I would think at looking at, because you have the space and it wants more detail, which I know just takes time. Now, you've obviously put a ton of hours into collecting all these materials and building the highways and stuff, so it's obvious you're busy doing a lot of things. So don't expect like these are just my first thoughts and ideas, but it doesn't mean you have to like go crazy detail levels. Not everyone wants to build as detailed as I like to build, but I find the more detail, the more interesting things you can add to these larger spaces, the better off they're gonna look. And it only takes one idea to like snowball into like, oh, that's so cool. And another great thing with big bases is you have the space to show everything in this game off. So when I have this much space, since I built in the sandbox in the first game, I have an armory. So I have a room or a space that shows all the armor and all the weapons in a single area. And then I have a museum, a bug museum, that shows off every single bug piece in its own little kind of like little exhibit, I guess is a way to put it. And you have boss spaces and you have the regular bug spaces. You're kind of already doing that with some of these, but you could kind of take it to the next level and show everything off in one big space, since you have the space and you've given yourself, with this size of base, so much potential to just do fun, crazy things. I have like a museum in one of my bases that shows off every art piece in the entire channel. Or, sorry, in the entire game. So all the different art pieces, all the different things can be fun to show off. Especially you have these kind of like open, empty rooms and stuff. Those can be great places to just throw the little half walls around and do in every one of these like naturally made gaps. You can show off an armor piece or make a little stand and put a bug mount on it. And those can be really cool little detail additions when you have so much space and fun stuff to work with. And I think this was like all your function and stuff. You got mushrooms, which I think you said you were waiting for mushroom bricks to come out as an option, which I am as well. So I love that you're already thinking about the function of having as many materials at your fingertips at any given time as you possibly can, because that is a necessary. Especially when you're building this big, you want to have functional spaces like gardens and all those. How do you visit other bases? If you add me on Discord, if you go to Discord and send me your username, I can add you as a friend and you can share your world with me. And then this is really where all your function is. This is where I spawned in. So you got all your jerky racks, grinders, dew collectors, all those things. You definitely have a lot of room to grow with these ones. There's so much space. I think that's the hardest thing about building big is you end up with so much extra space. It can be really difficult to fill it all. But you seem to be doing a good job with it all as well. You definitely have some fun ideas. And again, I think these could be interesting spaces where maybe you create more interesting staircases in like larger design pieces like that. So you can fill a little bit more of the space. But also even like utilizing more of the scaffold. Like I don't see this piece used in builds. They're kind of always used as just random things to hold other things up. But I could very well see like you've got these very meticulously laid out throughout here. So you could kind of continue patterns and mirror them on the different sides to fill in the spaces. And the great thing about the stems is you can place any block on them. So you can have a lot of fun with now like bridging these kind of things together potentially. Still getting used to flipping between these pieces. So you could add some interesting details like that in between these. It's really like the only thing holding anyone back is just pure creativity. Is it work only with Grounded 2? Currently I am doing Grounded 2 base reviews at the moment. That's kind of what I'm thinking of sticking with for the time being. But if we get enough, I wouldn't hate to show off some Grounded 1 stuff as well. But yeah, man, I think if we're looking at the list of different things, the first impressions are awesome. You obviously have a lot of creativity with the whole field. You've got a lot of different space and things going on. So it's your creativity's going, and now it's just you have to just continue adding little detail by little detail, which on these big builds is so time consuming. So I feel your pain. This is not a critique by any means on that there's not enough stuff happening. It's just I know how long it takes to build these massive bases, and you've obviously spent a ton of time collecting all these materials, which is its own feat. Even a perfect little chair to watch the game. And you can just hop around. Hop around. I don't know how many people know you can do that, but you can jump in your chairs for some reason. Saying spiral stairs, use that, not the other ones. I hate spiral stairs personally. They make me sick. So typically, like a detail that I like to do instead of a spiral staircase that I can show off real quick is you create a spiral staircase without creating a spiral staircase. So you do something more like that. I'm sure people can kind of tell where I'm going with this, but you make a spiral staircase that doesn't make you want to throw up. Uh-oh. That's my biggest critique of spiral staircases, is they make me want to throw up. course I fall in the hole. So try to repeat your ideas, but in Grounded 1. Yeah, I mean, that's all. Most of my ideas that I'm talking about in Grounded 2 came from my builds in Grounded 1. In my 3,000 hours of mega build experience in Grounded 1, so... They translate very quickly into Grounded 2. We just don't have as many materials, so it's just a little bit more difficult to build at the moment. And when the game will be updated, I do not. They have not announced anything. Yeah, man. Honestly, I'm impressed. The fact that you've not only built this much. This is so much. This is a lot of building for anyone that. No, it feels big, but it's a lot of effort to build this big. So, congrats on you for being willing to collect and grind. Because it's a grind. It takes a lot of effort, and you've got a lot of things that I think you continue the passion and design that you put into like the football stadium, and just slowly start adding the kind of details with like the fans and all the little things that you've got going on. I think in no time you're gonna have this base absolutely crazy detailed. All right, let's see. So they are also in the same location, funnily enough, which eventually, when we get more materials and all sorts of stuff, I see myself building a mega base of some kind in this massive half circle thing, unless more cool things are added. So I think this is a really fun place to build. You're going to be super centrally located. So again, both bases that we're looking at now and the last one in really good locations. They're fun. A lot of open space. The bugs kind of all disappear after you finish the main quest as well. So it becomes a really safe place to build. And you're located near just about everything. You got your station as well. I forgot to go over this with the last base review as well. But yeah, good locations, centrally located, lots of stuff everywhere. I think we have ads, so I'll wait 1 second. Make sure. Insomnia Frog. Good. Want to let these ads finish so no one has to miss it if you're on Twitch. Yeah, Discord or DM, doesn't matter. Is it, Ducky, is it Insomni Space Frog or Insomni Frog? No space. There is food in the fridge. Thank you, Ace. That's also an important one. I never remember to grab food. Stop that. You be nice. I assume this one's... Let me just add you real... Alright. Cool. So, hey. Alright, well now you're gonna have to go down. Yeah, that's what I thought. Perfect. I just added you, so feel free to share your world with me. Alright, so we have a really fun little staircase here. Very similar to the last one, funnily enough, but I do like that you switched up the materials. That's one of my favorite things, is utilizing multiple materials. It's a great way to add really fun little details. I know it's not game-breaking ideas or anything, but I do think that using different materials makes a huge difference. And so this is Ace's base. They got a cool little bug area, which is fun to walk up to. And like your own little like red carpet, which is very cool as well. You got your farms, so you're trying the mushroom farm as well. Love the stick pallets all underneath, so when you're building above, this is a great kind of storage use here with just extra spaces. So that's a great idea there. No, it's not the craziest thing, but I mean, these are the type of things that make for really, really good bases, is having very effective storage so you can utilize your, especially when you're trying to start building bigger and bigger as well. It makes it a lot easier to build these things when you have access to all your stem pallets and all that stuff. Loving your little entrance, by the way. This is a great little use of these as like a support piece. So very good there. I love that. And the little details, those are very cool as well. Big fan of that. Also, this is exactly what I was talking about, 8-Ball as well, is utilizing different materials to create sort of a difference in the texture on the outside of a base, as well as, I mean, even here, you can see a great use of just depth, adding some random structure. It doesn't have to be like a purpose or anything, but adding things like these. You could even do these like break up one of these and put something that sticks out in the middle of each one of these. Like these are the type of details that really start bringing flatter bases to life. But this one's not very flat because you've used so many different materials and you have openings and stuff, so it's really good. First thing I think of is, I can't tell if you are or not, but put lights in there. These are the type of things that just putting some sap sconces in, it'll completely transform the way the front of this base looks if you get a couple of those built up with sap sconces. But yeah, I mean, I can see that you'll add symmetry and stuff as you go, so no worries. Don't feel like it has to be done. I can get the idea from seeing one side. You've definitely got a good start here. And even like how you're using the thatch side and then the shingle side of this looks really cool as well. Adding in interesting details, and I love the triangles and stuff, so. You didn't do the mixer yet. Is there a good way to farm gold cards? Not really. You could just fail the mixer. Is the best way to farm those. Really like these as well, like how you're using the same design, but you're not. So it's the same concept, but you're already switching the way that these are working, so it's not super repetitive all the way around. So you're creating really nice little details in these spaces, which I really like. Those are great little additions. The bugs are fun out here. If you can find a way to maybe make this like, maybe you could do like a covered space here, and it's a little big, so it might be hard to design, but maybe like creating a grand entrance in this space, so these bugs, the stuffed bugs, sort of maybe feels like you're walking into. It doesn't have to be an enclosed space necessarily, which I think you have a good understanding of, where you have a lot of this is so open that you could kind of continue some of this design on this area as well. And I think that would be a very cool sort of reveal sequence that I'm a big fan of, is you could walk from this lower area into the middle of like this little bug museum, whether it's just some pillars, columns on these edges, and then like a small roof structure, or even like a trellis, I guess would be a good way to explain it as well. But just giving these maybe slightly more enclosed space, and then this feels like you can replicate some of these design decisions you've made and create a cool little entry museum space that would feel really epic when you're kind of walking through this cool little tunnel as well. But I definitely like, there's a lot of potential with what you've got going on here. And again, the inside. I mean, I know you're only 30% done, so it's a lot of collecting left to go to just finish it. But the fact that you've got these functional little walkways around the whole entire base, I think is really, really good. That's a great little design piece. Fun little stairs. You could get away with sort of the same interesting hand railings. You can use pine, you can use stem. I think those would look kind of nice to finish the stairs a little bit. But love these little like outer turrets. Those are really fun. And then your chandelier, like,
Just looking, I promise.
Very well done. I love chandeliers. If you haven't checked out some of my Grounded 1 builds, if you're newer here, chandeliers are a big big thing that I like doing as well, along with a couple other really cool builders. So I love that you're already thinking about how you're designing sort of the ceiling space, so it's not just a big empty floor sort of thing going across the whole thing. The chandeliers are a really, really fun, cool way to do it, and as you add more and more lights, sometimes now you have to have a PC and stuff that can handle the extra lighting, but if you line these as close as possible up these little angled pieces, it can look really, really cool. And yeah, we'll go to night in the photo app real quick to see it. Except I'm stuck in a wall. There we go. Yeah, for anyone who hasn't messed with chandeliers, they're very cool. And I think more lighting on it. Just keep going. You're on the right path already. Just add more and more lighting. Don't be afraid to use fun colors as well. I mean, you've got some green, some purple. I think as you add more and more of that, it's just going to make this whole thing, like, absolutely pop in the middle of this space. I think it'll be really cool. And especially, like, you've already got the red lighting as well. Looks really good. You've got different colored lighting for these things. You're going to have all your armor stands, which I think is a really cool little use for all this like extra space that you've created, all your weapons, and you have enough space as well that this is going to be really nice because we're just getting more and more items with every update. So you've given yourself enough space to kind of grow and evolve the base. That's the hardest thing about building really small bases, is that you often find that if you want to show off the different little details that are added in every single update, you quickly run out of space, faster than one you might think. So you've built a big enough base here as well that I really like, that you can expand for the future. Love the designs as well. These are really cool. Love anything where you take these pieces. You can do this with stem. You can do this with grass. It doesn't have to be just pine, but yeah, I really like using the little quarter triangle pieces, and it's a fun little like separate area, like you're creating a room in a room, which is fun. Everything here functional, good to go. I can't really critique chests, you know, but you've laid everything out very well organized, and everything's close enough to one another that you can pull from the different pieces. So I think this will also look very cool as you kind of enclose this space more and more. And like the little entrance details are awesome. Also, I noticed your like heart design here. That's a really cool doorway that isn't a doorway. So very, very good job on that as well. And yeah, I think as you keep going, just more and more lighting would be big. I know it's hard while you're still building. You're only 30% of the way, so I can only imagine what your other ideas are going to be as you keep going. Because there's a lot of potential here. Try not to die. We gotta get to the top. The next floors. Go up this one? No. This one. No. How'd I get up there? That's how I get up there right now. Very interesting. Yeah, I really like how you've made your own custom windows on every part of this. Like, you've done a really good job blending the different material options that we have, because they are a little limited at the time being, so you have to be maybe a little bit more creative to really get these things to pop. But I'm a big fan so far. I know you have a lot to go. But yeah, continue as well. I mean, I love your use of materials. You have a really good understanding already of just fun little designs and details. I mean, this is like as a freestanding wall almost is a really cool little detail. I could see like there's so many options you could do with this. You don't even have to you don't necessarily have to put bug mounts, but I could see a lot of people like using this little design piece because I like it so much. I'm going to take a picture of that because I see some potential. Wait. It helps when I'm not in the way. This is where I start really having a lot of fun, is these interesting, smaller details and stuff. But yeah, I mean, these are really cool. Really cool little stuff. Yeah, just keep going. Like, as you do these things, get further and further, maybe continue separating some of these spaces out further as you finish the roof and stuff, I think would maybe help so it's not so open, but I can only imagine what you can do with all this random space. And can't tell, are you building? You just built a massive bridge too. You guys are crazy. Oh, this is a fun little space too. It's just everywhere you look, there's like its own little unique space. You've done a good job with the flow of the base. I know you haven't finished like all the stairs, but having staircases everywhere so you can get to each level really easily, I think maybe that's another thing. This reminds me of a few buildings that I worked on. So if people don't know, I was an architect for a while and no longer work at an architecture firm, but still do design work and stuff. And these open spaces, especially because I don't, this could be me, but I don't see a staircase currently that's going to your second level. So you could build, especially since you do have enough room, you could build like a really cool, like multi-tiered staircase that kind of comes out and up through this space or something like that. Assuming that doesn't ruin other plans you had, of course, but it could be a great little spot to add sort of fancy staircases, or even if you do like that, and then you can add some of these details that, like, if you were set on, this is another thing you can do. I don't love the full staircases, so use the quarter staircases because they don't stick out as much, so you can still have a walkway through these spaces. And of course, you could pull this floor all out one as well. It doesn't have to be this tight, and then remove that as well. But an interesting staircase of some kind would be really a kind of like fun detail you could add here. And then just add in some fun little hand railings. I just think these are the kind of details that really start making things pop, is one piece of that. So you do that, and then you could have more little display, some of these display pieces. What the heck are these things doing? That doesn't look like it's displaying right. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just center your dew collector there, like you could make an interesting design around a dew collector. The staircase becomes this like design piece, I think, that you could mirror on both sides as well. It does cover your really cool little heart design thing, so I would understand your hesitance to covering that up, but maybe that becomes something that, since you have extra space here, like this could be the same sort of staircase, and so you get a stair on this side going that way, and then on this side as well, where this is more like you don't have the same armor displays and stuff, so you do have an interesting little space that you could pull this out, come down, and then build a staircase over. And then it also sort of, that gives you a floor piece that makes this maybe more of like a hallway or something as well, which could be kind of interesting design-wise. But I mean, you could put that staircase anywhere, but I think with the space you have, that could be an interesting little design piece. And you could even, I don't know, copy this over here. The ideas are flowing a little bit, so you could get it lined up right. Build that. Giving a little visual. And then have that, and then you can kind of mimic this cool little entryway you've got going here as well. Like that could be something, or even if this staircase pulls back that way a little bit, so it lines up with what you're kind of doing there. But you could have some fun with these staircases, or I mean, they can even come like down and out and down, or they could come out one and down this way, and you could walk through underneath the whole thing, similar to this. Like, there's a lot of potential with the amount of space that you've given yourself to have more fun with designing the essential pieces. Is kind of the way I like to think of it. as you build bigger bases, you have to be a little bit more intentional with the circulation aspects, I guess. So like you've been very intentional with this really cool hallway, and then continuing the level of detail that you have going here, maybe using these as cool structures of some kind that add in really interesting little details. I think you could have fun even if it's on the sides or somewhere here. You could have it come into the middle here, since this space isn't used as much. Like you could have walk in here and then have a staircase go up here and then up. That's also another good functional way to do it. Maybe it gets drowned out in the rest of the details a little bit, so it's more of your personal design style, I guess, is if you want it to be a more extravagant staircase that looks really cool. I've built some really cool staircases that I had a lot of fun with, or they can be a little more hidden and kind of part of the base, and you don't necessarily notice them until you've gotten out of these hallways or something as well. Yeah, I think you have a really, really good start here. I mean, especially considering that this is 30%. Like, you got a great start. I'm loving the details. I love the sort of symmetry and repeated details, but also you've already started diving into some of these smaller details, and I would say just more of them is the way forward. The way I would go continue to build is just continuing with your fun little ideas, throwing in fun little spaces, and wherever you have open empty stuff, you can just continue adding these little tiny details that you've got. The windows, the random little wall structures and stuff would be really cool extra additions, I think. Glad you visited my world. I got a few ideas from you. Perfect. Glad I could help a little bit. I'm sure if I spent more time in everyone's world, I would come up with tons and tons and tons of ideas, but I don't want to make them too ridiculously long. But yeah, that was Ace. Very, very good base. I love the detailing. I love, like, there's a lot of potential here. So yeah, running through the ideas. One, the wow factor right off the bat. I mean, you're 5 out of 5, no problem. Is the outside, the exterior of the base. And I know the interior comes slowly after you start doing the exterior, but it looks awesome. I love, like, the drama is how I would explain the drama of entering through this really cool epic staircase is a really fun way to do it, and I could see you adding to this more and more, especially as bugs destroy everything, and it's always a fun, endless battle. But yeah, this is a really fun, like, entryway. You have so much potential with what you have going here. I think you said you needed ideas, and I think you're better at this than you give yourself credit for, but I know how easy it is to get kind of builder's block and get stuck looking at your base for endless amounts of time and trying to come up with new ideas when you don't necessarily have fresh input. But yeah, I mean, the flow of the base is also easy. 4 out of 5. I think you could work on the staircases and stuff the rest of the way, of course, as you get further and further through this build, but it's everything looks like it functions really well. Your main pieces are where they need to be. You have all your storage directly underneath your crafting spaces, which is really smart and well designed. The chandelier wow factor aesthetic of everything is, you're killing it. Yeah, just keep grinding. And I'm very excited to see how this turns out as you continue to finish it. So I'd love to, even if it's just progress pictures and stuff throughout the Discords. We can always revisit over time when people kind of finish some of these bases. So, this space is RaiderLoons. We are currently located near the pine trees. So this is the kind of underhang area where the roots are. So where the kind of upper area overhangs and then you're underneath where the roots and all that cool stuff hang on. Okay. And I think night is going to be good because there's some interesting lights already. So, we are up on the mushrooms, which I already love. I was not the first person to come up with this idea by any means, but the instant second I saw all of these hanging roots, I was like, this could be such a cool base. So I'm really, really happy to see someone building here because I already can tell, like, you got like your own little like treehouse village, dude. This is huge. Wow, this is so much bigger than I thought. Holy cow. I love getting to show this off live and just stumble through everything. Yeah, first off, base location. Awesome, really fun base location. It's already looking really cool. You've already done a fantastic job, like, winding these things through the roots and stuff. The lighting is epic already. You've done a very good job to get it started with just what I see right off the bat. It's like an epic fairy tale village. Yeah, this is really cool, really unique. And the fact that it's so dark. I know this is at night, of course, so it's going to look a little different in the day, but it's so mysterious at night. I really like the way it just kind of like, as you get closer and closer, it just kind of slowly shows up in front of you. It's really cool. All right, so I guess we're just gonna wander because I'm gonna get lost. I can already tell. This is like Ludorav's status base already. Like, the nooks and crannies are incredible. All the little, like, hidden spaces already. Rooms are really cool. Got upstairs. This are hidden so well already. Wow. You got your people already, like, set up, armor dummies and all that. Loving the lighting. The color choice is awesome. Something that just works. Something about it. Wait, what's up here? Gosh. We're gonna get so lost. Let's go up, I guess? Still a work in progress. Yes, I fully expect almost all of these bases to still be major works in progress. So I don't expect them to be fully finished bases. And that way, it does give me something to critique and hopefully add input to as well, which I think is a fun part of this whole process. Gosh, there's like... You got my brain going crazy right now with just everywhere, dude. Quite impressed. I love these just wandering bases because you have no clue what you're doing or where you're going or how to get to any of it. Like hotel rooms already. Yeah, a little like bungalow vibes. I haven't seen too many of the little more tiki hut designs, I guess is what we could call it. Oh, and that's gonna go all the way around. Holy cow. The creativity is oozing. Now, Ludorav is gonna have an absolute field day with your designs already. This is very much how... I'm a very symmetrical, organized type, personality type, and this is like the chaos building that I wish my brain could do, and it physically can't. And so I love seeing people just go for it. And you got all the storage, you got little shops already created. Love those ideas. The like snails and stuff, the little bugs you have sitting around everywhere. Hopefully I don't miss anything, but we'll try to get to it all. But I have a feeling I might get lost and miss something. Your wargaming table and stuff. We're just reading the newspaper at the lunch table. Love it. Jeez. Did I just come from this way? This is how you know your base is next level. I'm so lost. In a good way. In the best of ways. Even like you've got sap catchers and stuff sitting through windows. Like it's so functional, but like you wouldn't notice the function hiding behind those walls, but it does not go unnoticed by me. Those are amazing little details to add function to sort of chaos. And I mean chaos in a good way. I love how you have like little shops already. Oh, make the jump. It's not the intended path. Oh, ow. I'm so lost. This is great. We still have to go down there. Let's go back to the bottom and go to the other side. Hopefully I'm not running too fast. Just want to see more. I can't stop. Yeah, I really like how you've used the pebblet foundations as the like main support structures, because they blend with the they blend in really well with the tree stumps. Is like another way, because there's only so many tree stumps, right? So it's like you can't just build on the tree stumps and get this much built, but you've kind of created your own like root network almost that I really like. It's very creative, and like it feels like an avatar village or something like that. And just like this, like honestly, that crazy little fairy village, tiki hut vibes. Wow, this is really cool too. Love this design. Ace, this would be a great type of addition for your base that I was kind of talking about for that front entry space. Like it's sort of covered open structure, but it's not at the same time. That's a really cool little design there as well. And I love that it's like it's just these little corners that are touching as the only support. It kind of creates a whimsical design that I really like. You got your little shops, more shops, aphid and weevil sales. Loving that. The little details in the corners to just fill in the random spaces as well is very well done. I don't even know what any half the stuff is, but I like it. Holy cow. Now, you've done a very good job. The haphazard, it's a very difficult thing to create this sort of haphazard pathway system to get through a base like this and still have it be this cool. It can very easily just feel too chaotic, and it feels like I'm just walking through sort of a little village almost, as if it's a treehouse village, just like some for the Ewoks or something from Star Wars. Just really fun, unique little details. It has a lot of life to it because you've added the armor dummies and everything. Very well done. I'm loving the little ramps and stuff. These are really cool. I do believe that I think now if you cut those down, they may not come back anymore. That's worth testing, because things are not supposed to grow through structures anymore. So you might get lucky. Oh, dude, very nice. Very nice detailing. This, honestly, tip my hat to you here, Loon. Great use of using like the environment around you as well. Not only the fact that the trees and the roots are very well done, but like making a little like grotto under here, really cool. Very, very cool. And it feels like a grotto. Oops. Like the little bridge and everything. You got ants drinking from the water. It just keeps going, dude. You got your mushroom storage that you've somehow made this into a cave? What? I know exactly where we are on the map too. Yeah, this is I've always thought this was a really cool little spot. You got like your functional chest room and everything, and then very cool. Love this. Really love that too. Chef's kiss, exactly. Exactly. And we still got more to go get lost in. There's a second floor. Oh, interesting. A fun little roof pattern and stuff as well. What are you doing here? Yeah, it's like a bathhouse. Very cool. Roofs going down further was a new design to me, but I liked it. Yeah, very well done. Wow. Just lost in the sauce, man. Nerdy of a thing as that was to say. Dude, holy cow. You're killing it. I'm very impressed. Everyone has done an incredible job tonight. This is just... the randomness in exploring something like this for the first time is very fun. Love all the little things. All right, that's where I jumped up from earlier, so we're heading in the right direction. Yeah, it just keeps going. I think that's what's most impressive is the way you've designed it. Is it like this? Kudos to what you've designed here, Loon. That I think is very difficult. Is you've managed to like create a really compact little base. Ouch. But meaning the individual pieces of it are all small and compact, but it's like sprawling just throughout these routes. Feels like exactly what you want to do with this base location. Is I exactly what I was dreaming of when I was thinking of building a base here. Is like, oh, it's a crazy like tree root village that just keeps going and going and going, and you've executed it very well. And we have to get super dizzy. This is how I walk up spiral stairs, so that they're not as horrible. And then you're up top. Dude, what is happening? Loon? Dude. I need... I'm like, what is happening? Alright, let's see if we can make it day in photo mode. So we can see what the heck you're doing up here now. Very cool, man. Wow. I love this roof structure. The way you've added the like realistic supports and everything, and then like the cool window as well. What a beautiful little... The thatch roofing with like the light that comes through, gorgeous, honestly. You know, it honestly feels like, I don't know, like Moana. The like sort of Pacific Islander style builds now, where it's not just a little hut, like these are actual large structures. You look really cool. Wow. Yeah, I like the way you've used depth in this area as well, like with the windows and the different structures and stuff, and then like your big openings as well, and then also utilizing the door frames and everything as like an extra little detail, because it would feel... It's one of the harder things with like roofs and stuff, is to not have them just be these like way over the top hanging stuff, because we don't have too many size options. So utilizing those as like a little extra added support really makes it feel like it's not realistic, but it is at the same time. Like sometimes I feel like if you overhang too far with certain things, it just starts feeling kind of over the top, but it's the amount of detail and structures you've added in has sort of solved that little issue that I've seen before on other base designs. So yeah, kudos, man. These are really cool. It's hard to critique too much because I'm just lost, honestly. I don't even know what I even looked at, but I'm really excited to see kind of how you finish these out. I'll be really interested to know, because they look really fun to build with this being this tall and having no handy net. I know that struggle, but those are very cool. Uh-oh. Run to the hills. What? Even like switched the direction of the stairs. So, in terms of like everything, like honestly, you've done an incredibly good job. I really like the layout, the function. I know it's maybe more of a village vibe. It's not necessarily what a lot of people would consider a traditional base, which I think is really cool and fun, because you're now exploring and experimenting with just the way the game allows you to build, which is a really fun point to be. I don't think enough people get to the point where they're just building for pure entertainment value. Because it doesn't have to be functional to be fun. It doesn't have to be functional to be a good base. Because I don't even know where you would craft and hold your own stuff in this base, but that doesn't make any difference because you have so many little spaces that you can do it and build from that I find are really cool. Now, of course, you're not done. So details, details, details. You're on it. Like, you're getting enough details from just the layout of the base itself and the materials that you're using. So I think you're doing very well there. But I think where this base goes from a 5 to a 10, in terms of 5 out of 5 to a 10 out of 5, is continue. Just more and more create these little stories, like continue creating little stories and little moments, because I think that's what's like, it's what drew me into this base so quickly, is like, oh, there's a scene. Like, this is a specific vendor selling like spiderlings, and this one's selling mites, and it's, what is their armor set? What is the faction they come from? I think Loon, I'm not sure if you've seen Ludorav's base tours from Grounded 1. If you have, great. Watch him again. If you haven't, really watch his videos, because I think you're on the path of this more like storytelling based style that I really enjoy seeing, and that's why I think it's a very different style than how I build and create, and that's why I've always been so drawn to Ludorav's builds in Grounded, is because he does this epic storytelling where he takes this crazy huge structure and creates these little moments in every single room, and so every room has a purpose and something that's happening inside of it, and I think that's what's gonna keep driving this forward. So don't be afraid to just keep on chugging. I know it's a lot of work to farm all these materials, especially when you're building all the armor sets and stuff, but yeah, you've got a really nice little aesthetic the way you're building out each one of these buildings and the little huts and stuff, where it doesn't feel like everything's one massive structure. You've done a good job breaking it up, which feels cohesive with where you've built your base as well. I think it'd be a lot harder to build a base that's just one base in this crazy like root system, whereas breaking it up into little miniature builds all over the place really feels like the right fit for some reason. It, like, looking at this, I see what I want to see here, not like, oh, well, you could do this, you could do that. I was like, this is exactly how I would picture a root-based, like, tree base or tree fort kind of village, and just all the different meandering paths that take you to these fun little moments. I mean, even like the way you've designed sort of this overhead lighting and stuff kind of feels like a pool table where you could be playing pool with hanging lights, and continue adding those details anywhere and everywhere. And that, I think that'll really take this base to that even next level. Not that it needs to go to a next level, but it seems like you're just continually adding. So yeah, just more and more of the same, I think is what's going to really push this. Maybe one other thing is experimenting with a little bit more lighting. I know you have a lot of lighting, but it is all the same color. And so I could see potentially you maybe bringing in different colors for different like uses of space within this build. So like houses are red and shops are green, and you start getting this like function behind the lighting and stuff. But at the end of the day, the lighting also looks incredible. I don't dislike any part of it, but that could be maybe something to experiment with. Ouch. And just a way to kind of push it to that next level. Because I think that was a couple comments that I saw while I was running through. I couldn't quite read out loud while I was trying to stay on point. But the single color option might benefit, and I can't say that because until we see it, of course. But you might find some benefit for adding in interior lights are one color and exterior lights are a different color, and that will add kind of more design and depth to the whole thing, which I think could be kind of nice. It kind of breaks up a little bit of the sameness. I don't want to say like nothing looks the same necessarily, so I don't want to use the wrong words here, but you might be able to add in some slightly more interesting details for having, I don't know, lighting kind of underneath these roof sections where you have these like coming back in, and so it's reflecting light back a little bit more as well. And then you can start to see sort of the different depths you've created. I think that would benefit as well, because I enjoy the like purplish pinkish color. I wish they rendered in further too. I think that might be part of it as well, as the fact that the lights don't render in until you're right about here where you could see so much. But it also kind of creates the an interesting experience where you're just kind of, as you walk further through the base, it just starts loading in slowly, which is also kind of fun. Ducky's base. We are located right next to the starter area. Very nice. It's a great little space to start at the snack bar. Super safe, super easy to get all your materials, and you're easily located right next to the ranger station, so that's also a win. Yeah, you're like built into the ranger station. Very nice. I love the location starting and the fact that you've gone like vertically. You didn't just build a little space. You kind of are utilizing the different levels to this area, which I think I already am drawn to. Yeah, I need water. 1 sec. Yeah.
Could use some lemon slices, but it's drinkable.
And of course, as being a newer base, I don't think you have anywhere near as many days as other builders as well. So you've done a good job with the starter materials and stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's just start exploring, figuring it out, see what we got. What, Ducky? No what? Very functional that you built it right into this as well, so I like that. How did you... What? How are those stuck on there? The days? Oh, nice. That's awesome. I didn't even think you could do that, dude. Wow. You have like 20... Yeah, the fact that you've done this in 20 days or whatever, like, is insane. I think Loon had like 300 or something, so... Time spent is a huge difference maker as well. Unless you've got 300 days in the game, like, don't expect to have the crazy huge bases that other people might have. First, I love your little, like, sap room. First things first. That's super clever that those clip through the walls. I had no clue that you could do that, so I'm definitely going to try to find a way to implement that into a base, because I love that. That's, like, functionality. It's so difficult to get sap catchers inside a base. So that's really, really creative doing that, is first off. And then as Ace had said, looks like a Mountain Hill mansion. That's exactly what I was kind of thinking. And I've seen a lot of cool, like, multi-tiered structures like this that feel really interesting. And then the fact that, again, you're on a good path utilizing the different, like, height changes in this area. Instead of just building one flat base that's super small, you're already, like, the fact that you're utilizing the different in-game assets, like a tree root, to make a cool little archway like this is really good little additions and things that you should be proud of in, like, nice, creative, cool little ideas. Where am I? Somehow I'm still getting lost in this base. Love it. Yeah, your pathing and stuff is already really creative as well. Like, the way you're getting through this base is very creative. Did I miss? What's on this side? Then you got your whole little upstairs balcony space, which is really cool. Oh, a basketball hoop. Nice. You already have fun little spaces you're working on. I know you probably have more work to do and that you want to add and the details and stuff, but you've already got some fun little interesting details added in here that I immediately gravitate to that I think you can do even more of. Yeah, so suggestions and tips and stuff, similar to some of the other bases that I said, start trying to experiment with some different materials. Ducky is on Twitch right now. Where? I need a bed. I want to see this in the day. Where's a bed, Ducky? Gotta be one somewhere around here. Did I run past it? It'll be easier to explain if I could see anything. Can I build a quick lean-to? The chest room. Oh, jeez. It's like you have a spider sleeping in your bed. Scared me for a second. I haven't used any of the stuffed bugs or anything. So it horrifies me seeing them in your guys' faces because I don't know if it's actually me. Like, oh, I need to fight, or if that's just a buggy or a stuffed bug again. Some art in your Discord if you want to look. Sounds good. I will take a gander after we finish looking at this. But yeah, materials. I think already I see the interesting ways that you path around this base, which I really like. I think it can be really difficult to like create these sort of meandering bases, and so I think you're already doing a good job of one, having interesting ways to navigate through the base, which I really like, and also like these moments where you see into another room and you don't necessarily know how to get there as like an architectural standpoint. I think that's a really cool design to where you're just standing, you walk in a space and you go, wait, what's up there? And it's not necessarily like a clean straight path to get to this location, and then you're up and you're coming from a different angle and you're seeing another moment that you saw, and those are like, architecturally speaking, those are things you really want to strive for in designing real buildings, is those moments where you're seeing things and it's intriguing you and it pulls you through the base or through the building or the structure to the next place. And so you're already have some really interesting aspects similar to that. Also, utilizing these structures, the roots and the different level changes, I think you're on a great path already for interesting base designs. Like the fact that no level is exactly the same, I think makes for a really interesting base design, because you just never know, and you're creating these moments where, I mean, you could have stairs come down here and have another balcony, and then you could add just all these extra little spaces that become sort of, maybe at first they seem sort of random, but because they're just other spaces that you've created like these dropped levels, because this is what it looks. You wanted a specific aesthetic on the inside of this, and now because of that decision, there's now interesting things you can do on these kind of newer created levels that you can kind of continue potentially looking at, which I should also have suggested for some of the other builders as well, is finding reference images. So like Ace said, it feels like a hillside mansion. Look up modern hillside mansions. Look up just modern kind of interesting mansion designs, and I think you might get some more interesting ways that you could continue connecting and adding to this base. and pull inspiration from. And then the other big suggestions that I would have, that I would think, because like layout wise, in terms of the floor plans, it's a really interesting base so far, and it's fun to walk through and see like, oh wait, I want to go over here, I want to go over there. But material wise, my biggest suggestions are always use more materials. So if you can start adding in some stem to this, or pine, whatever you like, it kind of depends on, I haven't messed with grass a whole lot, but also similar things that you can do, even if it's not switching to a different material, because I know they are a lot more grind to get stems than just grass, because you typically need more. This is an interesting thing that See-Through's been using. There's no grass, so I can't build it, but using some of the smaller pieces of grass, it's a little hard to see, a little difficult, but it has a more interesting pattern to it, and that's where you can start to become a slightly more intentional with the exterior of your build. I think the interior, outside of just adding more chests and more decor, adding more of the machines and more buggies and stuff, like you're on the right path for all this, and just continue detailing things out the way you're going with, I mean, like putting a bug in this little area where it really feels like it fits right in that space. Just continue adding those things, but then on the exterior, I think you would greatly, you would see a great change in kind of the overall aesthetic, because the hardest thing is when you're using grass, everything starts blending together because it's just one texture, it's one material, and then with the clover roofs on top of that, it's just green, green, and more green. Whereas if you do a simple adjustment of tossing in one of these pine ones,
Truly among my finest
you can
work.
now start to tell the difference between this front section and the section slightly behind it. And so you're going to add visually a lot more depth to the build, even if it's just a stem. It doesn't have to be a pine wall. It doesn't have to be a stem wall. It's kind of, the combination is what you prefer mostly. So like, I very much like the way the pine looks with the stem, and so I've stuck with that. But I think there's great combinations that you can make on top of that as well. It's just the first thing I made and just added to it a lot. Yeah, and I think the additions are working great, and you're doing a great job with it. So yeah, more detail, just more materials, I think breaks these things up. Even if it's like, instead of using grass hand railings here, use the pine ones, or the stem ones. Use the stem half walls in some of these locations, and you'll sort of start to differentiate the different layers a little bit too, where I could see, like, if you're doing stem here and then you did stem there, then you're really getting these like defined levels, which architecturally speaking is going to create a little more visual interest, and it can break up some of these things, even in some of these locations, adding some stem or some pine just to break it up a little bit. Maybe even like thatch roofing in some of these locations. Like, you've also got some interesting details, and maybe these are on accident, but I love these happy accidents where like pieces clip through other pieces. And so you can continue messing with things like that as well, and just adding in other floors, potentially changing some of the floors from grass to like foundations on the bottom level, or even stem floors. Could break up the walls and the floors as well. And then other little things, just some of these you have ramps for, some of them are just up to a different level, so maybe adding in some little staircases, or even if it's like similar to like Ace's suggestions, adding in really small fun little details where you start getting just, it's not like massive changes to the design, because you can move these in a little bit, but start pushing and pulling these things a little bit.
At this point, I'll eat anything.
That? Just this in general? Where you are? Alright. Okay. The one, I think, maybe slightly enclosing this area in a little bit more, I think would help. Because then you don't have sort of floating structures like this. So if you were to get their food and water level as well because I was hungry. Yeah, that does feel like it. So maybe trying to like find a way to slightly enclose this in a little bit. I know I'm just kind of being random, so it doesn't have to be exactly like this by any means. But if you can find a way to make, I think this wants to feel almost like a second floor, but it's more of like a breezeway at the moment. So if you can sort of, and this is always just me kind of thinking on the spot, so I will never say I do my best work just right in the moment. In offering slightly more enclosed space might be kind of nice. And again, you don't have to use stem or anything as well. But that way, you're going to end up with more of a finished room, I guess is the way I'd put it. And I think that might help take the upper level, because you have a lot of usable space in here for all of your storage needs, your jerky racks, keeping a lot of form and function type things. Yeah, Anthony. Love Anthony. And that way you sort of start differentiating, and that's a similar thing that I was kind of talking to about changing out some of these materials potentially, whether it's using small triangles and adding little details. I mean, I could very easily see even say like keeping some of this grass and adjusting some of it. These can quickly be little details that you can just like toss in. Don't have any materials, but doing things like that to differentiate like more of a roof structure here versus the walls. And then I think these can be some of the elements as you sort of, you have to put extra time in to kind of learn the way, especially with like 20 days in or so, the way the different materials work and they look good together. Rewatching some of these base tours, I think will really help inspire different ideas as well. And then kind of continuing enclosing this second floor, I think would be nice. Similar to, I mean, you've got this place kind of enclosed, building out a couple more walls. Even if it doesn't necessarily go here, you could extend this maybe out to this area. All depends on how much space you need as well. You don't necessarily need to make things bigger, but that would allow this space to feel a little more finalized. Even just, I don't dislike potentially having like skylights as well, so like maybe leaving some of these spaces open, and then you can also kind of grab something here and follow some of these decisions. You've already sort of made these decisions is the way I like to think about it, and so just doubling down on what you've already done and making that idea a little bit more cohesive can be a one route to sort of finish it. Thank you so much for joining me on today's base tours. Huge shout out to the builders for letting us explore their worlds and show them off. It's always awesome seeing the creativity and design ideas this community brings to life. If you enjoyed the tours, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future tours, tutorials, and mega builds. And if you'd like to have your own base featured in a future video, hop into the TimberBuilds Discord, DM me, send me your username, and we'll set up a tour for the next one.